Today we are going to look at how to divide by a fraction. So our key vocabulary, reciprocals. These are two numbers whose product is 1. And when you write the reciprocal of a number, you first write it as a fraction, if it's not a fraction already, and then you invert the fraction. And invert is just a fancy way to say turn it over. So when you invert the fraction, turn it over. If I had a bottle of water and I wanted to invert it, I would turn it over. So it's a fancy way of saying turn it over. So when we write a reciprocal, all you're doing is switching the numerator and denominator. Okay, so let's look at a couple of examples of that. So my first example is 3/5. So I'm going to take 3/5 and I'm going to switch the numerator and denominator. So now I have 5 in my numerator, 3 in my denominator. I just drew a little arrow here to show that this is the reciprocal of 3/5. I did not put an equal sign because 3/5 and 5/3 are not equal. So I did not put an equal sign. So the definition tells us that the product is 1. So to show that, we can see 3/5 times 5/3. Well, 3 times 5 is 15, 5 times 3 is 15. So we're going to get 15 over 15, which is 1. We can also cross simplify this way and just end up with 1. So let's look at the next one, 9/5. This time it's an improper fraction. It works the same way. 9/5. And then we just switch the numerator and denominator. If you had a mixed number, you would just switch it to an improper fraction first, then switch the numerator and denominator. So 9/5 times 5/9 is going to give us 45 over 45, or 1 whole. All right, this time we have a whole number. We have 2. So remember, to write a whole number as a fraction, I just put 2 over 1. So then I can find my reciprocal by switching that numerator and denominator to 1/2. 2 over 1 times 1/2 gives us 2 over 2, or 1 whole. So go ahead and pause the video and write the reciprocal of the 4 numbers below, and then you can play it to check your answers. Okay, go ahead and check the answers to those 4. All right, so now we're going to get into the dividing portion of this. So when we divide a number by a fraction, we are multiplying by the reciprocal. So that's the key there. We change it to multiplication and we multiply by the reciprocal. Let's look at some examples together. So our first example is 1/6 divided by 2/3. So I'm going to leave 1/6 the same. We don't change the first fraction. We never change the first one. But then we change our division to multiplication. And then I get the reciprocal of the second fraction. So it's always the second fraction that we change. So 2/3 is now going to be 3/2. I can cross simplify. 6 and 3 can both be divided by 3. So I have 1 times 1 and 2 times 2, 1/4. I don't need to change it back. I don't need to flip it again or anything. Once you get the reciprocal and multiply, you're done. The next one, 4/5 divided by 1/7. So I'm going to leave 4/5 the same. I'm going to change to multiplication and then switch my 1/7 to 7 over 1. Okay? Nothing to cross simplify, so I'm just going to multiply 4 times 7 and 5 times 1. This is an improper fraction, so we can change it to a mixed number. So remember, I'm going to think, how many times does 5 go into 28? Well, I know 5 times 5 is 25. So that's 5 times. And if it's 25, that means I'm going to have 3 left over. So 5 and 3/5. Okay, last example here. 3/8 divided by 2/6. Take 3/8. I'm going to change this to multiplication. And instead of 2/6, I'm going to switch this to 6/2. Okay, So I can cross simplify with 8 and 6. Let's divide both of those by 2. So 8 divided by 2, that's going to become 4. And 6 divided by 2, that one's going to become 3. So now I have 3 times 3 and 4 times 2. 8's going to go into 9 one time with 1 left over. Please remember, if you have any questions, pause it and let me know, or write them down so you can ask me when we're finished here. All right, let's take a look at this in a word problem. So we have a piece of wood that is 3 feet long. We want to know how many 3/4 foot pieces we can cut from that piece of wood. So I'm also going to put a box around my question here to make sure I go back and answer that in a complete sentence. Okay, so first of all, let's take a look at a visual here. So in my visual here, I can see this is my piece of wood that represents 3 feet. Here's my 1, 2, 3 feet here. And then we want 3/4 foot pieces. So each foot is then marked into 1/4 foot sections, so we can show this is 3/4 of a foot, this is 3/4, this is 3/4. So then all we would do here is count the number of 3/4 foot pieces. Three-fourths foot pieces of wood. And we can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4. Of course, drawing a picture is not always going to be ideal. It helps to see the picture and why this works, but we're not always going to be able to do that. So using our knowledge of fraction division is helpful. So I'm going to take 3 divided by 3/4 to figure out how many 3/4 foot pieces. So I would take 3 divided by 3/4. So I have 3/1. We change it to multiplication and then multiply by the reciprocal. We can cross simplify. These 3's become 1's. So now we have 4. So you can cut 4 pieces. All right, go ahead and turn the page and try these next 5 on your own. Go ahead and pause the video, show your work, and then you can unpause and check your answers. All right, go ahead and check your answers there. Okay, last few examples we're going to do together here. So this is similar to what we did yesterday. Now I have fractions divided by whole numbers. So I'm going to take 4/5 in this first example. I'm going to leave it as 4/5. We're going to change to multiplication. And remember that 2 is the same as 2/1. So I'm going to get the reciprocal of that and switch it so that it's now 1/2. We can cross simplify 2 divided by 2, 4 divided by 2, and get 2/5. Okay, the next one I have 5/7. I'm going to switch to multiplication. That 4/1 becomes 1/4. And we have 5/28. 5 and 28 do not have any common factors, so it's already simplified. 2/3, switch to multiplication. 5/1 becomes 1/5. So we have 2/15. Already simplified. Last one here. 3/7, change to multiplication. 3/1 becomes 1/3. I'm going to cross simplify first, so 3 divided by 3 and 3 divided by 3, that's going to leave us with 1/7. Go ahead and pause your video and try those last two on your own, please. Okay, go ahead and check your answers, and please let me know what questions you have.